Hi,
Hi, how are you?
good. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for willing to do this.
Oh, of course, absolutely.
If I could just jump around then with your roles so far.
Sure, yeah.
So starting from the beginning, I know Shelley Colleen Black got you into anime.
Yes, she did. I was just thinking about her the other day and how much I'm just gonna be forever indebted to her because if she hadn't pressured me, because when she first because we were sharing a dressing room, right, doing theater, and she asked me, if I did anime voiceover, which was happening a lot in Houston at the time. And I was like, no, no. And she was like, oh my gosh, you have to call my friend Steven. You have to call my friend Steven. Um, he's looking for people. You would be great. Do it. And I was like, oh, no, no, no. And several days went by and she like hounded me about it. And she was like, you have to call him. You have to call him. And I was like, no, I don't want to impose and all of this. And, um, and then she finally was like, well, I gave Steven your number, so you're going to call him. And because of her, I got into this. And, it's so difficult to break into the industry now. I'm just so grateful to her for that. So I haven't seen her in years, but if I do, I'm just gonna send her a huge bouquet of flowers because she just yeah, she's amazing.
And it started with another.
Yes. Yes, it started with another because uh yeah, I went in to do an audition um with Stephen Foster, and he was just, doing some like trial things with me, and he was like, he heard my auditions, and he was like, hold on, I need you to go. I need you to come with me. I need you to come with me. You need to come down the hall. You need to meet my friend Chris, Chris Ayers. And I went into Chris's studio, and he was like, you got to listen to this girl, you got to listen to her. Chris needed an unknown person to be in another, and for reasons I won't reveal because I don't want to give away the end of the show. But yeah, and he took a chance on me, and Steven took a chance on me, and yeah, and it was awesome. It was surreal, and I didn't know what I was doing, and I was just like, okay, let's do this, and yeah, it was awesome.
And I have found that people kind of have different answers as to how they took the dubbing to take you a while to get used to.
It did. It's different. Things work differently at Sentai than they do at Funimation. And I've worked at a lot at both studios. And so I started at Sentai, which is just, you just roll in. There are no beeps or anything. They use beeps at Funimation. They'll do a series of three beeps, and then you know exactly when to speak. At Sentai, you just watch the animation, and you just go go with when you see the mouth start moving. Every single time I get in the booth, I'm still learning, like, gosh, just so much. Yeah, it's a craft, so it's something that you have to keep working on, and it changes, and the industry standards change, and for the better. It becomes more specific, and the viewers have become more discerning, and you have to up your game, and so um, you just have to. But it's fun. It's fun to work on that craft.
And was there or is there any aspiration to move to LA for you?
Oh, Chris coming through with the juicy questions. It's up in the air. I would say it's up in the air because a lot of work is done in LA, but a lot of work is also done here in Texas. For the time being, I'm on this day in 2022, I'm here in Dallas, and I would never, I would never say like close that door to LA. There's no immediate plan, but if it seemed necessary or interesting to me, then I'm open to that.
So going back to the timeline of roles, one that I personally liked that I really hadn't seen you ever talk about was Ome and Hakuoki.
Oh wow! Oh my God! Wow! Yeah, that was a while ago. What year was that? Do you have it?
I think it was dubbed in 2013.
I don't remember a lot about actually recording. There were a lot of shows and things that were being done in 2013 and 2014, and I was going through a lot in my life. So there were times where things just blended together. With most of the shows that I worked on with Chris, it was I just was trying to be a sponge and absorb as much as I possibly could. He was so generous with his time and with his knowledge, and he really would take the opportunity to encourage you to try things and hone your craft. And then he would also offer words of wisdom. And every chance that I had to work with him, I would take that opportunity to just try to soak in as much as possible. He was a really great person.
Mhm. And this was a more major role around that same time in Girls and Panzer.
Yeah, yeah, that was really fun. I think the first one was directed by Janice Williams, if I remember correctly. She said, yeah, it's a bunch of girls who really like tanks, you know? And I was like, what? And she was like, yeah, you know, they're just really into tanks, and it's their school activity, and it's what they do, and they become competitive with it. And I was thinking you for this one part, this one role. She's very tired all of the time, and she likes to sleep a lot. And I was like, well, I already have a personal in there because um, I enjoy sleeping. I enjoy my naps. Um, and Mako became some character that I just she's so delightful because she's so under the radar, um, sarcastic. For a while, I was hired specifically for those sort of deadpan sort of characters. She's tired. She doesn't mince words. She loves an opportunity to eat and sleep, as do I, and she likes to, you know, take the take a good crack at people, which I also enjoy.
I did think it was interesting too that in the series Amnesia, that was the first instance that you got to do a boy voice, I think.
Yeah, man, doing boy voices, that was another learning curve. Was and that I'm still learning. It's interesting. Some people that's their wheelhouse, and you know, little boy, like middle school and sometimes high school, but usually young boy and middle school age boys are usually voiced by women who you can invite sort of a gravelly texture to your voice that is comparable to maybe a 12-year-old, you know, whose voice is cracking. Um, but learning that, again, Chris was very helpful in helping me find that sound. Um, and it was fun. It's fun to play something that you would never play in real life as a in your physical self. So yeah, that role was fun. Those kinds of roles are always fun. Next question.
Well, on the same topic, I know it was more recently that you got to be in a Skate Leading Stars.
Yes, and that was so fun. That was so much fun. Um, that was David Wald, I believe,
Yeah.
and it was a question of can you sound you know, can you sound like a younger version of this guy? And um, it was fun to play and figure out like where the line was of believability and of not pushing too much. It's not something I'm hired for a lot, so I'm always a little bit like when I'm going to play a male character, because I don't want to sound campy or inauthentic in any sort of way. Um, but the directors are always very encouraging, and I try to listen and take the advice of those who have done it before me, and any kind of um, tips and tricks that they have. And I was really excited to be a part of that show. I think it's a really neat show.
Mhm. Well, what do you think is the case with characters you played so far where you had to alter your voice the most significantly?
In No Game, No Life, I play the queen,
Hmm.
and she is in a very high, shrill register. And that's usually a place that, in my speaking voice, uh, my voice, if I had to color it, would be like right here, and she's like right up here in this area. And that's quite a divergence from where I live naturally, and it's really fun to explore that, and to be something that's so different. Also, Rory Mercury in Gate, now that I'm thinking about it, she's very different from my natural speaking voice. And the kinds of characters that I usually play, to the point where, during my audition for Rory, I remember Kyle being like, I didn't know you had that in you. And I was like, well, you never gave me the chance. So it's fun. It's fun to do things that are very different, but you also have to take extra special care of your instrument when you are doing things that are outside of your norm and maybe not the most vocally healthy.
Hmm. What about with playing the wand, Magical Sapphire?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I mean that obviously that is a total divergence from how I normally speak, but also in like a silly way, because I'm a person who works in the theater a lot. We tend to put on silly voices sometimes and things like that. So um, going into this place and speaking, very formally, can be really fun. And my parents, my whole family, I was raised very much like Anglophile, like BBC everything, masterpiece, classic, all that stuff. So anytime I can invite a bit of like uh, Dame Maggie Smith vibes from Downton Abbey, like a little bit of buttoned up collar is really fun. And I got to invite that a little bit into Saint Seiya in Monster Musume as well. She's very she has a very specific sense of moral duty and obligation and chivalry, and those are all things that could be tied with a very British sensibility.
Mhm. And on the complete opposite side of that, what do you think is the case that you've had to get the darkest emotional headspace for?
It's been really interesting and wonderful, just fabulous, to play Jeanne in the case study of Vanitas that we're working on right now. It's so delightful to play her, because she goes through a myriad of events and thus emotions, and she's had a lot of trauma in her life. All of the characters have had a great deal of trauma, and uh, and it makes them do what they do. And there are direct ties between what they've been through and what they're doing in this moment, and their drive and their objectives. You know, as artists, we are normal people, you know, and we're going through things in our own personal lives. And when you've been tied with a character for several months, especially, you're met with the character on a week to week basis, and everything in your life is changing. It's going through different stuff on a week to week basis. And when stuff comes up in your life, and it happens to, like, say it's been a hard week, like something very sad is going on or whatever, and something happens to be sad that's going on with the character, it gives you a place to put all of those emotions and thoughts and feelings. And they can be challenging as well, but in a really wonderfully cathartic way. With Jeanne, it's very wild how every time I go to record for her, there's something that is paralleling in my life. You know, not literally, I'm not a vampire, but you know, there will be something like that is upsetting to me or something going on in my life, and then I'll get to record her, and she's going through something upsetting, and so it's it requires a lot, but it's also I reap many rewards. So be challenging, but also really gratifying.
I can personally say too that I think that you're doing a phenomenal job with that.
Oh, Chris, thank you. Thank you.
Mhm. What's what were your thoughts on the in season one and the blood drinking scene?
Oh man, you know, it was a riot. It was a riot, because David, I feel like the luckiest woman ever that I get to play with the actors and the creative team that are a part of this show. David Wald is a dream. He's a dream to work with, and we've known each other for so long, and we've done theater together and work at Sentai together, and now we're doing work at Funimation, now Crunchyroll, together. And he's so specific, and he's used to, because we speak the same language of theater and Shakespeare and stuff like that, he can encourage and ask for things that are very, very specific that that are helpful to me. So he just is able to like fine tune things, and working with Zeno is amazing, delightful. Everything that he does, that he gives, it's so generous, and I'm able to react off of it so easily. He goes with every little thing. And so, you know, scenes that could be like, oh my gosh, like, you know, the blood drinking scene could be like, how the heck am I gonna do this? And like, how am I gonna make it authentic and not, again, like not campy, and like very, play all of the intricacies of that, and not, yeah, not fall into any like traps or tropes or anything. And because I'm working with such an amazing team, and Jameson Outlaw, who is our sound engineer on the show, God bless him. I owe him like 12 bouquets of flowers, because he makes me sound way more proficient than I think I actually am. So it's a lot of fun. That scene was a lot of fun to record, because we just laugh, like we just have so much fun. And it's honestly because of my colleagues.
Do you find it easier to personally relate to her or to Akame or like other really big characters that you played?
I think as actors, you know, we try to find ourselves in all of the characters. There are some characters. One of my favorite professors in grad school helped me understand that sometimes the character comes to you and there's a lot of you in that character, and sometimes you have to go to the character. Sometimes it's kind of farther away from who you are as a person. um, you know, I don't know what it's like to be essentially a vampiric assassin. I don't know what it's like to be an assassin. You know, there's a theme here, but an assassin that is a part of a group that is fighting for essentially justice. I try to connect with the humanity in all of them. Uh, and there are things that I can connect with on an experiential level, like grief is something that I'm not unfamiliar with, and particularly Jeanne and Akame both are no strangers to grief either, and traumatic events and things. And as a result, I find myself in these darker characters a lot. I find myself resonating with characters that have a bit of a shadow side, I guess. And it's not something that I wear outwardly on my person. People usually, you know, would say like, "Oh, you're so, you know, bubbly," or whatever the hell. But you know, but we all always have that sort of other side. And I definitely have a, I feel like I resonate with Akame and Jun a lot because they also have a lot going on internally. But I also, you know, I love Flaming Belial in Combatants Will Be Dispatched because she's a riot and she loves jokes. She loves making jokes. She loves poking at people. She loves, you know, taking the mick out of people and just getting people to laugh. And I love doing that too. And she has red hair. I have red hair. You know, we don't dress the same, but yeah. And I think that's why people like anime, is because there are aspects of ourselves that we see in these characters. We might not be going through the literal experiences, you know, we might not be going to a high school for superheroes or whatever, but there are shared human experiences, and I think that's why it is such a universal art form, and there is something for everyone in anime.
This is way more grounded, but you find it easy to relate to Isuzu too.
I do. I mean, she's also a very deadpan character, which I love. And I would love to be that. I mean, maybe not all the time that confrontational, but like she's just very much like, she tells it like it is,
Mm-hmm.
which is something that I'm always aspiring to. I wouldn't say she's forward, but she doesn't beat around the bush. I think her sarcasm is delightful. I would love to, I'm quite sarcastic as well. I would love to be on her level of sarcasm. Like, you know, welcome to Amagi Brilliant Park, where all of your wildest dreams come true. You know, that, like, I think that's amazing. Like, genius. I also learned recently, had no idea that she was named after 50 Cent. Had no idea.
Yeah.
No idea. And now I love her even more. And I mean, and that was because someone took the time to write me on Twitter and say, "Hey, did you know that Isuzu Sento was named after 50 Cent, and Seiya Kanye was Kanye West. It's like, had no idea. But now I'm like enlightened. So yes, I love her.
This is another early Central one with Musashi and Samurai Brides. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was so fun. That was so fun. That was Stephen Foster directed that one. And that was just a hoot. And it was one of the first times that I remember feeling like I gotta up my game, because Stephen was I'd been working in anime for a little bit, like a couple of years or something. I can't remember what year that was specifically, but I'd been doing it for a little while. People were starting to like take the kid gloves off and be like, okay, you're doing this, you got to bring it to the next level. And so he was inviting me to just take it up a notch and take some bigger risks. I remember taking bigger risks with that character, and having fun. Yeah, I remember being very proud of that, and wanting to do more, and like, okay, yeah, this can be really challenging. Let's do more. Let's go deeper.
Mm-hmm. Well, another show that's set in feudal Japan. It's a totally different character, but Nagahide in Ambition of Nobuna.
I'm confusing that with another one. I don't remember a lot about recording that one, to be perfectly honest.
Okay.
Just being transparent. I don't remember a lot actually about recording that one. I don't get asked a lot about it. But now that you have brought it to my attention, I'm going to rewatch it, because I should know. There's one that, if you ask about it, I have a story about that. Yes, but I'll keep that to myself.
Well, one really cool one is the redub of Saint Seiya.
Oh my gosh, that was really cool and really, really fun. And I've been in grad school, and I remember being like, okay, I learned some things in school. Let's bring them out to play. Let's see if anybody notices, like, oh, you have grown a bit as an actor. And I was so excited to play Polaris Hilda, who had this, two sides, for reasons that were more complex than just like, oh, I have a side that I don't really show people. There were outside forces that caused her to not be herself, I guess. But it was really, really fun to be that powerful and that regal, and that she just took ownership of things, and she was diabolical, but she was also wonderful and kind to begin with, and then she went through some real transformation, and again had that sort of noble, regal quality, which is just so delightful to play, because you get to play a lot with language and tone and pitch shifts when people are powerful and like of the nobility in some kind of way. And some of the names that I got to say, like, oh my gosh, the names of all of the mythical heroes and stars and things like that were just like, I remember us in the booth like being like, okay, here's how you say it, break it down phonetically. And it was great. It was so much fun. And to be a part of this series that is so iconic and has been around for as long as I've been alive is like, that's next level. That was so cool. It was so cool. I'm very proud to be a part of that.
Do you think that you have a preference on working on dramatic opposed to comedic?
I don't. I love a good comedic moment, to be perfectly honest. I mean, I do love a good comedic moment because it's fun to bring levity to any environment or any room, and you have a lot of options that are opened up when you get to be comedic. You know what I mean? Like you get to play like you don't have to be the serious character, so your boundaries are not as tight. You can be bouncing off the wall, and those big explosive anime moments, you know, where like the eyes change and like you can you know, it has like the any kind of explosive illustration around it. I have no language at the moment. Then you know that you can take it up a notch and be silly, and it won't be too much. It won't be too big.
Mhm.
That's why in the case study of Vanitas, I just enjoy that show so much, because you get from one end of the spectrum like these really dramatic, juicy, tender, heartbreaking moments. And then you also get these very over the top, ridiculous, to the hilt moments that are absurd. And as an actor, it's such a gift. So it's like, in an ideal world, Chris, I would be in a show that has both, that like plays the spectrum. Um, that's like the ideal. I don't have a preference of one over the other though, because they're both very gratifying, and just any opportunity to do this job is a dream, honestly. Like any opportunity where someone's like, hey, I would like to hire you to do this, to voice this character. It's still every day. It's just like, really? Okay. Cool.
What's been your experience as Sonoka on Food Wars then?
So fun. It's so fun. Again, to be a part of that franchise is like ridiculous. I mean, the response of people in their reactions to Food Wars is so generous, and there are some huge Food Wars fans, and anytime that I get to record with Kyle Jones is a gift, because he is hilarious. He's a riot. He's a genius. He's patient. He's also, he'll call you on your bullshit, or you know, be like, well, you can do better than that, you know. um, and but he makes it so much fun. And recording that show, and I've been like lots of different little characters in the show as well. It's a blast, and I love the concept of the show. um it's again, it's just like it's a dream. Like it's just it's awesome. And any time that I get to be a part, because my part in the show is pretty small comparatively, anytime that I get to be a part of anything that has to do with Food Wars is really fun and really cool.
So what is, I can just ask, what is the like story that you're referencing about a certain role?
Yes. Okay. A few months back, I did something with Streamily,
Okay, yeah.
Streamily Live, so like a virtual con. I had someone, uh, a fan, you know, it's such a weird word to use. I don't know, fan is weird, you know what I mean? But like someone who enjoyed the work, and we had a one-on-one session, and he talked to me about a storyline in a show that was very personal to him. Uh, I don't want to give too much specifics, because I don't want to. Again, I now considering it, I don't want to tell his narrative without getting his permission. But I'm sure that I will see him in the future, because I've met up with him at a con after that. But he shared with me that something that happened in a show that I was a part of was something that was a one-to-one parallel with something that happened in his life. And it was not a wonderful experience that he had, but that it was something that happened to him a long time ago as a kid. And that I don't mean to get so emotional. Just that seeing it play out in front of him has helped him process what he went through and what he's gone through. And I think it's really emotional, that he would share something so personal that's not necessarily like the happiest memory in the world. And also that that the work that we do could help people.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times this job of being an actor, just period, can feel very inward focused, because you're constantly having to hype yourself, you're constantly having to market yourself, you're constantly having to talk about yourself, your work, what you did. And that can be not the greatest feeling. I care about people a lot, and I want to help people. That's the thing that I care most about beyond this work. If this work wasn't helping people, I don't think I would do it anymore. And there are times where I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. Like, because even this interview, we're talking about, me, and that can feel weird and icky. And knowing it's when you find out that the work that you're doing can help people, whether it's help them go and process something that they went through, or make them laugh and give them a reprieve from their daily life. That is the stuff that makes everything worth it and makes you keep going. It's why I love doing cons more than anything, because when I get to see people enjoying themselves, and that anime gives them the opportunity to be their most authentic self. There are a lot of people who go to cons who are young and live with their parents, and they can't be themselves when they're at home, whether it's gender identity, sexual identity, or even if they're into anime, like because there's some kind of prejudice or judgment against that, or they have been bullied at school and they get to be around their peers, or they get to be their most authentic self at cons, and that they feel safe enough in that space and comfortable enough in that space to be vulnerable and be themselves. There's no greater gift. I feel deeply privileged and honored to contribute to that in any small way. And anyway, this person who shared this story with me, I want to make sure that I have his express permission before I share the details, because he shared it with me in a one-on-one and in confidence. So before I go into any specifics, but I know I will meet him again, and when I do, I will ask if it's okay to share the specifics, because I would really love to, if it's okay with him. It's just very meaningful that he would take the time to share that with me, and that something, that I'm going on and on and on. I'm just like, bleh. But yeah, that's what I was going to say. And I was going to tell everything about it, but then I was like, I want to make sure I want to make sure he's okay with me saying the details before I say them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's actually kind of to tie it in with something that I have. That's actually kind of what inspired me to start doing this back in fall 2020. Because when I was in fourth grade, Like my family survived a shooting incident, and I couldn't get over it unless I was watching a series that I was part of at the time, or that I was like a fan of at the time. So that's why I wanted to start interviewing voice actors in series that I grew up with.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's that's I A, thank you for sharing that, and B, that's unimaginable. It's
Mhm.
unimaginable. That is a unbelievable thing to have to go through, and I am so sorry that that happened, and I'm so thankful that that you are here and that you are doing this work, and thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you. So there was a, I think that the role I was going to bring up next was in a Log Horizon.
That one I only get asked about every once in a while, and not many people know it, but sometimes I get asked about it, and sometimes people will bring the sleeve to cons and things like that, and will be like, "Remember this?" And I'm like, "Vaguely," but but uh, I remember aspects, but I don't remember extensively about it. Again, it was in a time where uh, there was a lot going on in my personal life. And as you may know, when you go through significant trauma, there are things that your brain just blocks out. And so there are like chunks of time that are kind of missing.
What about with Scum's Wish?
Scum's Wish, that was recorded in like a very brief period of time. I remember having fun, and I remember recording it in like that. That's what I remember too. It's like
Mhm.
memory erased.
Or with Chaika?
Oh, Chaika Coffin Princess. I remember loving that. Loving that. I've done a lot of shows.
Yeah.
And so like sometimes they'll kind of go away in your mind, but especially if they were like between the years of 2013 and 2016, my brain has blocked out a lot of stuff, unfortunately.
What about Beyond the Boundary? That's a pretty cool. Uh,
That one is really cool. Beyond the Boundary is a beautiful show. I've gotten a lot of really beautiful, wonderful feedback on that show, and I'm really proud of it. Um, People sometimes know about it and sometimes don't, but it's one that kind of goes under the radar a lot, but I'm quite proud of that one as well. Yeah, that I remember that one being fun.
do you watch stuff that you're in?
Oh my gosh. Yes, I do. I do. But I also I get so cringe with it, you know what I mean? Like I do watch it, but it's really hard when it's you. Do you know what I mean? Like it's really hard to watch things back sometimes because you're like, "Oh god." But we are our own worst critics,
Hmm.
but it's good to watch things back, you know. It's helpful to watch things back, because you can learn from it. You just have to get over like that's what I sound like. No, but I think it's important, and now more than ever I do watch it back. Sometimes I watch it back and I'm like, oh god. But then sometimes I watch it back and I'm like, yeah, okay. I think it's something that I've really gotten into the habit of as well, is um, watching the sub several times before I record the dub so that I really get an understanding. That's not something that has always been available to do. It's not something that has always been possible to do. The sub may not be available to stream or to watch, but if it is, it's so helpful um, to watch. And then obviously, if there are if there's manga available to read that, um, which again, most of the time is available, but not always. The only issue is that sometimes the manga and the anime will be, they'll take liberties with the anime and divert from what's going on in the manga. That happens a lot. And sometimes people are not happy about that. But it's not on you as the voice actor to alter the story. You can't. You want to remain true to the character, but also make it your own.
Have you watched ahead, like in Vanitas?
Yes, I've watched as far as is available on Crunchyroll. I know what happens to. I'm not fully caught up on the manga. I know what happens to an extent, but I don't know beyond a certain point. David and I have theories about what's to come. I have hopes about what may come, but I'm continuously surprised about what happens in the best way. I'm constantly surprised in the best way, and you never know what the hell is gonna happen. So,
Do you have a personal favorite like scene in Vanitas so far with Jeanne?
I do. Yes, my favorite scene. People haven't watched it. Like, this is spoiler, so if you don't want to, look away. So after Vanitas and Jeanne have their first like intimate night together, like there's like the fire and all the things, and she's like, take off your clothes and all this, like, you gotta get warm and all this. She wakes up the next morning and he's gone, and she's like, where the hell is Vanitas? And she remembers like what happened the night before, and she's working it out in her mind, and she's like, what happened? Oh my god, he was naked, I was naked, what happened? And she goes through this whole thing of just like, and it's so much fun because it's a total roller coaster. And David and I got to play with it like it was a Shakespeare soliloquy or something, where you're working out a problem, and you start in one place and you end in another, and there was no mountain too high and no valley too low. David will let you play the spectrum, and again, I'm really trying to improve every time I get in the booth, and I'm trying to learn from my peers, and I'm trying to do the best that I possibly can. And that was a real test for me of like, okay, like try to employ different techniques that and do all these things. And I felt really proud of the end product there. Probably, to me, some of my strongest work to date was, I feel, in that episode and in that monologue. Essentially, she has this monologue where she just goes nuts, and yeah, that's been my favorite scene so far.
Okay. So is there anything else that's like upcoming that you can safely talk about that you're part of, or
there's stuff that I am hopeful that I will get the chance to audition for, because the characters on the page are really cool. And one of them, the sub exists, but the dubbed version, haven't gotten there yet. There are still several episodes behind. And then there's another show that it exists in the manga universe, and the show exists, but they haven't gotten to the manga arc yet.
Okay.
If that makes sense. And I don't know if I'm going to have the opportunity to audition for them or what, but I'm going to try really hard and, you know, cross my fingers and, you know, hope for the best. But there's nothing, this world is just very like, you know, you can't talk about anything ever until it's like out there. So no, I can't, but there are things that if people want to put good juju out there for me, I will send them all 10,000 bouquets of flowers mentally. Yes, that's all. So, no, great. There's nothing I can say.
Okay. Well, my final question is always asking them, what do you want your legacy to be?
Oh my God, Chris. I want to be, if people remember me, I hope they remember, I hope they know, I hope that if people know me, they know me because I have helped them in some way. That I hope that, and not because it's like, oh, it's, I don't know how to articulate. I just want to help people. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm really inspired by seeing all of the people that are able to help those people that are displaced from their homes in Ukraine right now. And I would love to be able to contribute in some way to helping them. Those things are real-time things, issues that are happening that I want, that are the most important things above all. And I think leaving the world better than you found it is a really important thing. And so I guess my legacy would be, oh, she did something that made the world better. I don't know.
Well, thank you. I'm glad we got to do this.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you so much. And I just thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Bye.
Bye.